Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining me. We have an awesome show planned for you today. We're going to talk about things the rest of the media won't talk about. And we'll start with LeBron James and Jeff Teague. That controversy blowing up about PED use as it relates to LeBron James. At some point, we'll segue into the beef between Cam Newton and Ryan Clark. I got a little, as the WNBA turns, I got some John Harbaugh standing 10 toes down against the media for questioning him for visiting the White House. Deion Sanders showed up at Tampa Bay's training camp to support his son. Is that something or nothing? Anyway, we got a lot to get to today. I want to thank our great friends at Preborn for making today's show possible. You guys know our relationship, our commitment to Preborn. You know our relationship and commitment to Dan Steiner, who founded Preborn. He's been on the show multiple times. We know where our money goes, and we know it goes to a great cause that we believe in. And the cause that we believe in is that life begins at conception, and no organization supports that worldview, that belief better than Preborn. Preborn provides expectant mothers who are considering an abortion, provides them an ultrasound, introduces that baby's heartbeat, introduces an image of that baby to the mother while the baby's in the womb. Now that woman is more than twice as likely to choose life, and that's where Preborn steps in, steps up, and supports that child and mother for up to 2 years. Guys, this is our mission. This is our mission. If you want to feel good about yourself, give to Preborn. If you want to put a smile on God's face, give to Preborn. There's 2 ways to give. Each ultrasound is $28. 5 ultrasounds is $140. Whatever you can afford to give, it goes to a great cause. Our money's not wasted. It's not blown on summer homes for mid-level executives. It pays for ultrasounds. It pays for the things that women and mothers need for up to the first 2 years of that baby's life. 2 ways to give. Pound 250, say the keyword baby. Pound 250, the keyword baby. Or give the way that I prefer to give. Preborn.com/fearless. That's Preborn.com/fearless. Thank you, Preborn. And you guys, I'm telling you, you want to feel good? You want to make God feel good? You want to make me feel good? Give to Preborn. All right, let's get into today's show. And this is today's show, and today's opening topic conversation is just another reminder, another example of what I've been talking about as it relates to the mainstream media and their partnering with leagues and elite athletes, is that fans don't get served. They don't even get the conversations they deserve to have. They don't even get obvious conversations. This morning I woke up and I was like, let me go see what ESPN or anyone else in the mainstream media had to say about Jeff Teague, 12-year NBA player, made $98 million playing in the NBA. I think he entered the NBA in 2009 and then played 12 years in the NBA. He's got a podcast. I think it's called 520. I think it's part of the Volume Network. And yesterday or the day before, Jeff Teague said something about LeBron James that we've heard before. Let's play the clip of Jeff Teague saying that LeBron James is using performance-enhancing drugs during his time in Miami. Let's play the clip.
Which Bron was better?
Miami Heat Bron.
Miami Heat Bron.
Miami Heat.
I'm going this Cavs Bron because this Cavs Bron had a 3.
Man, y'all crazy. Miami Heat
best Bron we ever seen. I
was,
ain't gonna lie.
he was on steroids, bro. He had to sit out. He was on steroids for real.
Now, I give you
like legit was on steroids, bro. Allegedly, but like he had to sit out. But y'all remember when they told him like they
there goes the Clutch Sports allegations?
Y'all remember that though?
No,
but they was like he got everybody. They started testing for HGH, and they was like, "Yo," and he had to sit out. Like he said, his back was hurt, and he sat out for like 3 weeks, and he came back skinny. This is just I was in the league. I remember, and he came back in. He was crazy though, bro.
That might have been the best Bron, bro.
That was Jeff Teague. 12 years in the National Basketball Association. That was Jeff Teague, made $100 million in the NBA, may have made one All-Star game, starter in the league, significant player in the league. But he is not the first to say this about LeBron James. Everybody, but this whole thing has been memory hold, disappeared. I went to ESPN and ESPN.com, nothing about LeBron James. And I'm just like, how is this so? You have a 12-year NBA veteran, made $100 million, played during LeBron's era, making this suggestion, and he's not the first. Let's play Kevin Garnett. Does Kevin Garnett have a resume? Did Kevin Garnett's career matter in the National Basketball Association? Was he not the MVP of the NBA at some point? Was he not a part of a big three in Boston that won a championship title? Is Kevin Garnett not considered one of the top 25 NBA players of all time? Is he not the guy that started the straight from high school to the NBA deal all over again? Did Kevin Garnett not make $250+ million in the NBA? Kevin Garnett is an unquestioned NBA superstar who played during the LeBron James era, who sat on a podcast with Paul Pierce, and I believe Paul Pierce has a significant NBA resume. I believe Paul Pierce would probably make most people's top 50 NBA players of all time. And so you can dismiss Jeff Teague, but here's Kevin Garnett. Let's play that clip of Kevin Garnett. And this was several months ago, if not a year ago, making the same allegation about LeBron James.
Bronny get a bucket on Bron right now?
Yeah, he can get a bucket on Bron right now.
Nope.
Yeah, he can get a bucket.
No way. Nope.
Now he can get a bucket on his
Bron
dad right
averaging
now.
25.
No, I didn't say he ain't. I don't care what he's doing, but he ain't sliding, playing at that on defensive level.
25. Nah. Lord, 25. You still, Lord, he dunking. He's still dunking the ball with.
I'm saying that Bronny can get a bucket on Bron.
I'm saying he can't. One rollout, get a bucket.
3 dribbles?
No way. I'm talking
he
about.
can get a bucket on him.
No.
Man, come on. That little dude explosive, bro.
He is, but you seen his dad? His dad on that balcony. He on that new
he
juice.
ain't
That
sliding like he used to.
Man, bro.
Kevin Garnett. There's a pattern here. And I'm not even saying this to vilify LeBron James. And I know many of you, he's just beating up on LeBron James. He can't stand LeBron James. It would actually make no sense if LeBron James did not use some sort of performance-enhancing drugs. He's playing in the era and the time when PED-ophiles, PED-ophiles, pedophiles are commonplace at the elite level of athletics. It's commonplace throughout athletics. We've dumped so much money in athletics, so much money. I don't blame these athletes. I don't justify it. I don't celebrate it, but I don't blame them for using performance-enhancing drugs. If you grow up in Akron, no daddy, you grow up poor, and Nike comes in and starts funneling money to you when you're 12, 13, 14 years old, and you have an opportunity to become an all-time great athlete, and you step into an era where Lance Armstrong, Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriquez, and I'll even go more modern, Jon Jones in UFC. When you talk, and everybody just assumes, a high percentage of the players in the National Football League have used some sort of performance-enhancing drug. You're telling me LeBron James wouldn't do it? He has so much integrity. He wouldn't do with what everybody else basically has done and is doing. You have a chance to LeBron to make $50, $60 million a year from the NBA, try to pursue Michael Jordan's legacy, again, when you throw in endorsements, LeBron's got to be making $100 million, $150 million a year. He's a billionaire. All that pressure, all that opportunity to make it in America and become a billionaire. They don't have governors. They don't have, and what I mean by governors, I mean something that limits their ambition. These are all people that, for the most part, reject God. And so money is their God, and they can never have enough of it. And in that aspect, I'm vilifying all of them. Money is their governor. Money is their God. And so in pursuit of more and more money, because it's never enough. Oh, I got 100 million. Well, I need 200 million. Oh, I got 200 million, but this guy over here, Michael Jordan, through the Jordan brand, he's a billionaire. Well, I need to be a billionaire. And I want to be the first athlete that's a billionaire while still playing. There's all these little distinctions and all these little justifications. We've created a PED-ophile, PED-ophile environment in sports, and it should be discussed. Fans can handle that conversation. And so I would be shocked if LeBron James didn't use performance-enhancing drugs. And I realize that, let me throw in this because I hear people complain, Jeff Teague took to Instagram and said, hey, I was just joking. That was just a joke. I didn't really mean it. If anybody buys Jeff Teague's explanation over Instagram, then yeah, I was just cracking jokes. You know, I didn't mean it. Look, no. Oh, that's just crazy. LeBron James with all those muscles. He wouldn't use steroids. I mean, no, Jason Whitlock, he never ate at McDonald's. He doesn't like double filet of fish sandwiches. No, I was joking. Who's buying that? And if that's their justification, let's ignore the story. Jeff Teague said it was all just a joke. Let's ignore all the evidence that this is what all of these athletes do. No, what this is an example of is everything that I've been talking about, that these media organizations have struck up a partnership with the sports leagues and the elite athletes. And they don't care about you. They don't care about truth. They don't care about explaining these sports in a way that makes sense and is appropriate. Journalism has been thrown out the window, and it's all just one big fairy tale TV show. And we wonder why so many people believe, like, hey, man, I think these sports are rigged. Why wouldn't you believe that? Why wouldn't you? They cover up so much and they ignore so much obvious truth. Why would you believe they would ever tell the truth about anything? Money is their God. And this is why the Bible is crystal clear on this. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve God and mammon. And when you hear me complaining, and I know I'm just an old man on my front lawn, out in my little suburban neighborhood, shouting at the clouds, get off my lawn. I know that's what I am. But this isn't about being old school. This is about, like, hey, man, these sports were invented by the Young Men's Christian Association, organized and invented. The sport of basketball, as I've told you all, James Naismith invented basketball with an explicit Christian agenda attached to it. The sports were supposed to instill, support, evangelize for Christian masculinity. And now this entire thing, everything is just about money. Everything is about how can it help a handful of elites. And screw the fans, Everybody listening to me, let's don't go 100%, but 98% of you that are listening to me, you're not going to produce a son or daughter who's going to make it to professional sports. Many of you will produce a son or daughter who can benefit from the participation in sports, just for the health aspects, just for cardiovascular benefits. You can produce a child who will benefit from participating in sports. And that's why it's important that we don't turn sports into a complete degenerate garbage trash can. So you're not dropping your kids into a trash can where they'll be tempted. Oh, if you want to make the junior high team or the high school team. And I'm telling you, I saw it in my childhood, and I'm old, but I saw it in my childhood, guys in junior high and high school that were taking steroids, trying to compete and trying to get a starting spot. And it's only worse now that there are millions of dollars, and the millions of dollars are not that far away. Again, you can make millions of dollars in college now. I just heard there's a basketball player that's going to get $250,000 a year for playing high school basketball, his junior and senior year. He's going to get $250,000 a year, or that's the initial offer. $500,000 to be placed at a certain high school and play these 2 years. We've built a dumpster. We've turned sports, because of it's all a slave to money. We've turned it into a dumpster fire, and you're dropping your kids into a dumpster. Arenas and stadiums filled with that demonic, degenerate, perverted music that they love to play. And all the temptation at an earlier and earlier age, and a justification at an earlier and earlier age to cheat the system, to inject drugs into their body. This, for me, thank God, it had nothing to do with me, but I had a natural strength that was God-given. And, by the time you did some weightlifting, I was really, really strong. And there's a lot of people, guys, that are blessed that way. But once you get to the super elite level, the top end of Division I athletics in college, and certainly the top end of professional sports, it's a battle between freaks of equality. And then those freaks of equality start looking for, well, how can I be a bigger freak than the other freaks? Barry Bonds, a freak in baseball. Barry Bonds, long before he ever did steroids, had wrapped up 3 or 4 MVP deals. He's Barry Bonds. His dad was a great baseball player. He was a great baseball player. Next thing you know, he looks around and Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa are looking greater than Barry Bonds. And so Barry Bonds says, I'll join the crowd. They're using steroids. They're using performance-enhancing drugs. I'll do it. No one ever wanted to hear that during the whole Barry Bonds controversy in soccer, that it was the system, it was the environment that was created that justified in Barry's mind, hey, they just celebrated Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa as if they're better than me. Everybody knows they're cheating, so I'll join them in the cheating process. Barry Bonds, no one wanted to hear it back then, and people got upset with me for arguing, but Barry Bonds, no one's a victim, but Barry Bonds took those actions because the system has never corrected itself. The system, maybe this is the system has always been corrupt. But I think most of us listening, watching sports, fans of sports, and you try to understand, is LeBron, is this his 22nd, 23rd season, whatever it is, and you wonder how he's done it? He's a pedophile. Just like the rest of them. If someone told me Tom Brady use performance-enhancing drugs. I would not be shocked. I would not be surprised. He prioritized football greatness that much that, of course, he would fall to that temptation if he thought it were necessary. Not accusing Tom Brady, but I just don't understand, or I do understand, why the mainstream media is ignoring Jeff Teague and before him, Kevin Garnett, saying that LeBron James, the guy in his pursuit of GOAT status, and we know how obsessed he is with that argument, with catching Michael Jordan. No one should be shocked by these allegations against LeBron James. We're going to bring Steve Kim and Jay Skapinac on to further address this. I want to get their take, broaden the conversation. At some point, we'll transition to the quarterback conversation as it was started by Cam Newton and Ryan Clark. We'll do that with Steve Kim, and hopefully I think the real coach, Coach JB, Jason Brown, will join Steve Kim and I in that conversation and some other sports conversations. And then I'll close out with as the WNBA turns. But before we do any of that, I want to take care of a little bit more business. You guys know I keep fine liquor here at my home. It's not that I'm the biggest drinker, but when I do, I want it to taste great. And listen, man, Flying Aces, they're right there. Some bourbons chase trends. Flying Ace chases legacy. This is straight bourbon the way it was meant to be, bold, balanced, and unapologetically American. No gimmicks, no fluff, just real whiskey made for people who still believe in hard work, high standards, and doing the things the right way. Whether you're winding down after a long day or raising a glass with good company, Flying Ace delivers every time. It's not about hype. It's about heritage and getting back to what bourbon was always supposed to be. If that sounds like your kind of pour, it's time to level up. Buy online at flyingacespirits.com. Use the promo code BLAZE for free shipping. Flyingacespirits.com. Just even talking about it makes me want an old fashioned right now. And when I do, I'll be using Flying Ace. All right, stay tuned. Steve Kim, Jay Skapinac. I'm so tired of hearing about Angel Reese and her double-doubles. And many of you, as we just talked with Ryan and Jason Barrett and Steve Kim about, many of you are stat watchers. You're not game watchers. Angel Reese was back to doing Angel Reese things, blowing layups, getting her own rebounds. They've turned her into a point forward. She had 9 turnovers last night. I think her plus minus was minus 19. But all we keep hearing about, she now has 2 double-double streaks of more than 10 games or 10 games plus. She had one last year, now she has one this year. She's the first WNBA player to ever do this. She got the brakes beaten off of her. She had 9 turnovers and was just an awful. If you watch the game, she was awful. We need to quit celebrating these little distinctions. Subscribe now to Jason Whitlock Harmony on YouTube. I'm breaking down politics and entertainment with a biblical viewpoint, plus featuring interviews with various guests. Please share because you don't want to miss this.
His words are our religion, no regrets in our decisions. We all want to go to heaven with freedom. It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
All right, welcome back. Steve Kim, the Korean Cosell, Jay Skapinac joining me. We know that Jay hates LeBron James with every bone in his body. Steve doesn't like LeBron James, but he doesn't hate LeBron James. And so, Skap, I'm going to go to Steve first. so we can get a tiny bit more of an objective opinion. I know you just want to celebrate this, and you probably sent Jeff Teague a check. But Steve, are you surprised that the media is ignoring Jeff Teague's allegations here? 12-year NBA veteran, pretty detailed explanation of LeBron using performance and steroids, according to Jeff Teague. You surprised that it's being ignored?
Well, first of all, I want to clarify this. I have a very, very strong dislike of LeBron as a Laker fan in recess. Now, it doesn't reach the depths of my guy Skap here, but I'm certainly not waving the pom-poms like I'm with Clutch Sports. But, Jason, the LeBron James PED allegations and link, I'm beginning to think it's like the Epstein files of the NBA or sports. I mean, you bring it up, you talk about it, you promised a lot. Only thing missing is a bunch of social media guys, waving a bunch of binders in front of Clutch Sports' office or the White House. But of course I'm not surprised. And we've talked about this. The reality is Clutch Sports has their tentacles all over the media. Now, when you first started out, Jason, in this, you had to be hired by a real media entity. Now the athletes own media entities, and with the traditional outlets closing or shuttering their operations, guess what? We all need gigs. And if I say something about that guy, that closes off an avenue, guess what? I'm not saying anything, because in this case, silence is golden.
Steve, what do you think of Jeff Teague's backpedal?
Well, now that NFL camps are starting out, I believe any team that's looking for a cornerback should be getting Jeff Teague's numbers and see if he could tackle a little bit. That's an impressive backpedal, but I think it was incredibly, I would say, predictable. I would have been really impressed if Teague would have said, look, I said what I said. If you want to bring a lawsuit, go ahead. But a lot of these guys don't understand. Freedom of speech is not necessarily free. There is a price for it. And I don't mean just monetarily, that you're going to say certain things. If you're critical of anybody, Jason, you take a lot of heat for it. I'm sure Skap does, from the LeBron James cultists, that these people really, they have more loyalty towards someone that they don't know, that they idolize from an athletic standpoint, than their own family members. You're going to be able, or you're going to have to be able to take the heat. And Jeff Teague decided to get the hell out of the kitchen.
Yeah, he's not quite Candace Owens versus Bridget Macron. Not quite, but I've opened up a can of worms. Hey, Skap, I want to bring you into this. Part of what I think where Clutch, Rich Paul, and LeBron are about to find out is their Michael Jordan obsession, entering into this GOAT debate as aggressively as they have, it has consequences. And so when part of your argument is Michael Jordan retired twice, and you're platforming Kevin Durant to make that argument, don't be shocked when someone says, well, you know why LeBron's never had to take a break? Because he's got a little help as it relates to PEDs. I just think that if he hadn't so aggressively and passionately entered into the Michael Jordan debate, I think guys would be more respectful of the way they talk about it. I'm talking about former players and independent broadcasters and content creators. Anyway, your thoughts?
Yeah, Jason, I think really his primary, overarching premise of being the GOAT or being in the conversation with Michael Jordan or eclipsing Michael Jordan, it really rests totally on his accumulation of statistics, on his longevity in the NBA, in everything that he's achieved by playing now 22 years and counting. He's going into his 23rd NBA season next year. He was second team All-NBA last year, so he's obviously still playing at an elite level, an unprecedented level. He's going to turn 41 years old in December. Basically all of it, his entire case, constructed on this flimsy house of cards, the longevity counting stats, which will all just blow over if a strong wind swept in around his house, if there is ever any credible intel put forth on these PED allegations. But Jason, I would present that there is credible intel. There have been credible things tying LeBron James to PEDs. Just real quick, I don't know if you or anybody else watching right now remembers, but the biogenesis scandal, which erupted in Miami, mind you, one of the biggest sports scandals tying athletes to performance enhancers, took down several professional baseball players, including Alex Rodriquez. In federal documents, which have been they had been unredacted like years ago now. I think this was 2 or 3 years ago now that many of those files had been unredacted, and we learned that Ernest Mims, a longtime business partner and part of LeBron James's inner circle, was a client of Biogenesis. Have you seen this guy's physique, Jason? There is literally no reason why this guy would be on that list as a client. David Alexander's name was also implicated as a client to Biogenesis. He, at the time that LeBron was playing in Miami, was LeBron's personal trainer and LeBron's wife's personal trainer. No one talks about this. ESPN never discusses it. Obviously, he's protected from on high, but if we can ever get someone on the record or get some credible tests going here, I think LeBron James' entire legacy is at stake.
Steve, I don't know why I'm struggling to remember your friend that came on the show. He's involved with the Balco deal.
Victor Conte.
Victor Conte, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Victor Conte. Thank you so much. You know, if I remember right, he was on this show about a year and a half ago, talking about this and you know, putting some real meat on the bones as it relates to LeBron James. Tell me this, Steve, are you and I don't know if sympathetic is the right word for me, but I do have some sympathy. Like, I'd be shocked if LeBron didn't use PEDs, because everybody is using PEDs because there's so much money involved.
Jason, I've told you this quote before, but the track coach of Ben Johnson, who in 1988 became the story of that Olympic Games in Seoul, Korea, said, "It's a level playing field, just not the one you think it's on." And you go back to that 30 for 30 they did on Ben Johnson. Now, I was very naive because I was a Carl Lewis homer because, gosh darn it, I love America. And I was very angry that he ran away from Carl and he set the world record at 9.79. Now, I believe that was the name of that particular documentary. Jason, it blew my mind that it turned out of the 9 finalists for that 100-meter finals, you know, 8 of them had been implicated or flat out suspended and busted for steroids. So again, it's a level playing field. And that's why I always thought Barry Bonds got a bad rap. Number one, Barry Bonds was not the only guy doing it. And it turns out, Jason and Skap, the pitchers are on it too. So again, level playing field.
Skap, do you have any sympathy as it relates to the fact that, hey, look, this is what professional athletes do in this era of generational wealth?
I don't think sympathy would be the right word. I think understanding. I certainly do, because I grew up in Pittsburgh and I was a humongous Barry Bonds fan, and I carried my fandom of him over to San Francisco. And when the federal government of the United States put, I don't know how long, like a year plus probe investigation into Barry Bonds, basically just Barry Bonds usage, they really determined that he only started using it as like a response to the rest of the league using it. You brought up Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Well, Barry Bonds was a much better baseball player than those two. But if they were using, he, again, to echo Steve's point, was really just leveling the playing field. And Jason, real quick, back when LeBron's personal media group, ESPN, was still reporting sports, they did the ESPN, the magazine, did a piece on 2011's league MVP, Derrick Rose. And if you remember the timing of it, he was essentially encased in 2 different MVP campaigns by LeBron. LeBron won in 08-09 and then 11 or 12 and 13. Anyway, Derrick Rose won the middle year, breaking up LeBron's 4 league MVPs. And he was asked by ESPN, the magazine, in this piece, how big of an issue is performance enhancers in your sport? 1 being, what are PEDs? 10 being everyone's juicing. And Derrick Rose's response was 7, quote, it's huge. I really think we need to level the playing field. So I think to both of your points, a lot of the league was likely using. I think it's just common sense that LeBron would also start using. He was the best player at that time, and he was in Miami where biogenesis was happening. And again, his personal trainer and longtime business partner were on the client list of biogenesis. Obviously, he has been using, probably still is, but like you said, mostly everybody else probably is too.
And while we're there, and as I look above your head or behind your head, Scap, if my memory serves me right, wasn't there a shooting guard from Los Angeles, KB, I think were his initials, that used to go over to Germany and get some things done to his knee, perhaps, that, blood cycling or something? I mean, is my memory fuzzy on that? Do I have that right? Scap,
yeah, the year they were going, he was going for his second three-peat, and they fell short. They lost to the Dallas Mavericks in 2011, the eventual NBA champions that year. He went to Germany and had platelet-rich therapy done on his knee, which is essentially, yes, you draw blood out, recycle it, and then shoot it back into the knee. Jason, obviously I do not think that was banned. That was a well-known procedure that he went through, the NBA knew of and still knows of to this day, Jason. I don't think that the Black Mamba, the late, great Kobe Bryant, was using. If he were, Jason, I don't think his career essentially came to an end when he was 34 years old. He limped along for another 3 injury-riddled years and retired at 37, but when he ruptured his Achilles at age 34, his career ended. So Kobe actually left a lot of good years, in my estimation, on the floor because he just beat himself up so badly, didn't take the time off, probably wasn't using, and basically burned himself out, early on in his career, especially comparatively to what we see today. Like I said, LeBron's 41 this year. Chris Paul, we saw just sign with the Clippers. He's 40 now as well. We got these guys playing to ridiculously advanced ages and stages now. Kobe was not one of them.
Jason.
I'm gonna perhaps Kobe tore his Achilles, and perhaps athletes are tearing their Achilles frequently now because of their performance-enhancing drug use, where the previous generation didn't use it nearly as much and didn't have these problems. But that's just me. Steve, it sounds like you got something you want to say before I ask you a follow-up.
Yeah, what Kobe did was basically the athletic version of getting an oil change. It's like going to Econolube, just every 5,000 miles, go out there, get some new fresh ligaments in your knee. But the other thing that's really interesting is that, so what Scap said about the accumulation of stats, and this is what the LeBron cultists always talk about, but Jason, we're a little older than Scap, but I remember when Franco Harris set the rushing record, nobody thought he was better than Jim Brown, right? Jim Brown was considered the greatest running back from the time he probably stepped on the field to even now. People still have him the greatest football player ever. Pete Rose, I love Charlie Hustle, God rest his soul. He has more hits than everybody by a very good amount. I don't see a lot of people actually saying just because he has accumulated the most amount of base hits that he's actually a better pure hitter than Ted Williams or Tony Gwynn, right? So that's where I actually believe the ironic thing is the longer he has played and to try to push this I'm better than Jordan agenda, he's actually gotten further and further away in terms of the stature that he wanted to achieve.
Steve, I think you make a great point that he's kind of turned himself into Pete Rose. And Pete Rose has the hits record, but no one considers Pete Rose Ted Williams. Or I don't even know if people, I think Tony Gwynn a better hitter. You're right. I could. It's like we're going to give LeBron those longevity numbers, but the more he plays, the more he probably does a disservice to his legacy. Again, when you start thinking about the all-time greats, and this is before Tom Brady, but it's like Jim Brown. He left meat on the bones. Barry Sanders walked away, and his legacy and lore got bigger. Michael Jordan walked away twice, and I know he came back with Washington or whatever, but his legacy and lore have all elevated. because he left a tiny bit of mystery and wasn't, and not that LeBron is Willie Mays at this point, but LeBron, from what he's doing with Bronny to now allegate where this steroid thing, I do think the longer he plays, this steroid conversation is just going to get bigger and bigger. Steve, I want to ask you a follow-up, and then Jay, I'll give you the final say-so. But Steve, if we did talk openly and honestly about these athletes and their use of performance-enhancing drugs, if the mainstream media addressed this publicly and everybody just kind of came out of the closet like, hey, it is what it is, this is what these guys and girls are doing, how do you think fans would react? Would we be less interested in professional sports if we knew the truth about how much drug use was going on?
I think we already know the truth. Mine, especially in light of the Mitchell report, the whole Balco scandal, the early centuries. In fact, Victor Conte's office, when it was still Balco, was raided by the FBI in 2003. In my view, if you still believe that professional sports are clean, right, as in no one's using drugs or very few, you probably still put your molars underneath your pillow expecting a $20 bill from the Tooth Fairy, or you believe in the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus. I mean, really, I think one of the issues with LeBron being protected, and Jason, you know this, the great thing about having access to stars or to power is that you get access to it. The downside is you start to rely on it, and it becomes very intoxicating. And I think Jordan also was a beneficiary of this. People wanted to be around Jordan. They wanted to be in his good graces, and they may have not talked about a lot of the other stuff that happened outside the realm of the basketball court. I think some of this not only has to do with the fact that we want to remain naive, the people that cover the sports do not want to upset the apple cart.
Skap, I'm going to give you the final say. You're a sports fan like the rest of us. Would it have any, and you can comment on that or anything else if you haven't got to a point, but would it have any impact on your enjoyment of sports if there was more transparency about what these athletes are doing to play at this level?
I don't think so, Jason. But I do think that if we're going to protect the sanctity of sports, perhaps we do need to get more serious about testing so that, fans can understand that they are watching athletes that are doing it the right way, that are doing it cleanly, and probably just because we need to protect the athletes that don't want to do it. Like Derrick Rose was saying, he wasn't using, and he thought that a lot of his, contemporaries and peers that he was playing against were. So I think just to protect the athletes that aren't doing it, that don't want to do it. And Jason, just finally, I do just want to echo Steve, because one of my biggest things that my points against LeBron is that I don't care about accumulated stats. Just to go back to the NFL, like Frank Gore is the third all-time leading rusher in NFL history. You guys know he has more rushing yards than Barry Sanders. Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger have more yards and touchdowns than Joe Montana. Nobody cares. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, they're 50th, 60th or something like that on the all-time scoring list. It's never mattered. It has never mattered in sports until this guy, LeBron James, came around and couldn't live up to the standards set forth by the other great players. So we need to reestablish what the conversation is. We need to make other things seem more important. Well, now that they have done it, Jason, if there is any valid proof to these steroid allegations, it just undoes everything that he has done, and it undoes his entire case. So I think we do need to dig into it more, and I know that people like me and you are here to do that. So let's keep digging, shall we?
Gentlemen, thank you both. Steve will be back. He'll be back with Coach JB. We're going to talk a little NFL quarterback top 10 rankings and beef between Cam Newton and Ryan Clark. Before we get to Steve and JB, I do want to talk to you guys about Fatty 15. You guys, are you looking at me? Seriously, you see how good I look? I know this goatee has been a tremendous decision, but I've made even better ones as it relates to the supplements that I'm using to help me in this weight loss battle. There's something real to keep us and our families healthy and kicking longer. Check out Fatty 15 with this new thing called C15, the first essential fatty acid found in forever. Dr. Stephanie Venn Watson founded working with the Navy, and it's legit. Makes your cells tougher, slows down the aging grind. If your C15's low, you might have this cellular fragility syndrome, which messes with 1 in 3 people. Fatty 15 patches up your cells, helps you live longer, and sorts out sleep, mood, and your body's fix-it crew. In 16 weeks, 72% of folks say they're feeling great. Heart, liver, and joints are happier, sleeps deeper, and their hair, skin, and nails are on point. This vegan C15 supplements got 3 times the cell boosting power of omega-3, kicks cholesterol, liver, and gut health into gear in just 3 weeks, and comes in a cool glass and bamboo jar. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help you live healthier longer. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to Fatty15, that's the number 15.com, Fatty15.com/fearless, and use the promo code FEARLESS at checkout. Thank you, Fatty15, for your support. When we come back, Coach JB, Steve Kim, action.
Lord, it's a damn shame what the NFL has turned to for fans like me and fans like you. Wish I could just wake up in Patriots red, white, and blue, but I can't. This football nightmare's true. Living in a Madden world with Lombardi's soul. These cowards bound to feminists, Lord knows they all just want to wear pantyhose and control what you think, want to vex you and mask you, and they don't think we know that they drink Bud Light too, cause these players don't hit, might as well have limp wrists, cause with these cowards bowing down to feminists. I've been selling my stuff, hustling eBay, PlayStation car parts for little or no pay.
Make sure to subscribe to the BYOG Bring Your Own Guitar YouTube channel. Jeffrey Steele and I will be bringing you exclusive interviews and performances with amazing musical guests. Don't miss out.
But bring your own guitar.
All right, welcome back. Time for some Coach JB, the real JB, and holy cow, JB, Steve Kim, welcome back. I want to play you guys a few clips here before we get into this conversation. I want to give you the context for the beef between Ryan Clark and Cam Newton. So let's start with the clip of Cam Newton taking a pot shot or stating an opinion about the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL and Jalen Hurts.
Now, I know everybody's going to get mad at this. Cam hating on Jalen Hurts. It's hard for me to grade Jalen Hurts with the talent that he has around him. Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. But if we're talking about what they bring to the table holistically, it's hard to judge what Jalen Hurts can do when you're throwing to a guy like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. When you have tight end skill set, you have a dominant defense, the best running back in the game. Download Madden and see how many stars is on the offensive side of Philly. Like, you got King Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, those guys, that's cool. But when you're comparing, Lamar Jackson still shows you why he's an elite player. Josh Allen has to play elite in order for them to play. Lamar Jackson has to play at a high level for the Baltimore Ravens, even though that they have a dominant defense. Patrick Mahomes, he got a lot of talent, But boy, oh boy, you can't put no John Doe in Patrick Mahomes and think that they still gonna win the way they win it. I understand that. Jalen Hurts does not have to play elite for the Philadelphia Eagles to win. He has to play good, but he doesn't have to play elite. We're not asking you to win the game. We're just asking you not to lose it. When you ask that question, are we winning because of you, solely because of you, or is it the resources around you? So game changer, game manager, those are the things that you have to ask yourself. And those are the metrics that I'm going off of. It's like, bro, even when the tush push, you got 5 people pushing you, bro. You got a solid group around you, dog. And the man who Jalen Hurts is, bro, I respect him. I take my hat off to him. But just because he's a great guy, that don't mean I can't critique his game.
Very quickly, guys, because I want to get to the other context, but just very quickly in 15, 20 seconds, I don't have a problem with anything Cam Newton just said there. JB, do you?
No, JUCO guys speak alike, don't we? There's a reason why we all have the same ideology. You win in spite of Jalen Hurts in Philly, not because of Jalen Hurts. And that's Cam's point. Cam and I spoke about this particularly. You win in spite of them, and that's how good that team is, and that's just fact. I don't have them in my top 10 either, but I do appreciate and respect what Jalen does. Jalen gets better every year mechanically, and I respect it. And he's nutty.
Let's stop there. I'm gonna get back to you, Steve. You got a problem with what Cam Newton said?
To his point, and I do believe he fits that system perfectly. If you put Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen on the Eagles, they might go 15-2 also. So I kind of agree with them.
Yeah. All right. So I don't have a problem with what he said. You don't have a problem with what he said. Ryan Clark has a problem with what Cam said. Here's Ryan Clark.
Do you feel, though, that response is disrespectful to Jalen Hurts? We have to stop allowing people to have excuses to disrespect Jalen Hurts. Cam recently said I was playing things safe, so let me cook for a second here, right? So there's different ways to look at it. Historically and presently, Jalen Hurts is the top 10 quarterback, and you're going to look at it different ways. You're going to look at talents above X's and O's, the ability to help your team win, and then to me, it's proximity to the GOAT. Let's take Cam Newton, right? What made Cam Newton great? He could be powerful in short yardage and goal line. He could extend plays with his legs. He was this big physical presence. So is Jalen Hurts, right? Cam Newton went to the playoffs 4 times. Jalen Hurts been to the playoffs 4 times already. Cam Newton went to 3 Pro Bowls. Jalen Hurts already been to 2. Cam Newton was an MVP, and he got to the Super Bowl, and he forgot to bring his cape. When Jalen Hurts is going to the Super Bowl, he's brought his cape, and he's also brought the Avengers with him, who are not even in D.C. They in Marvel, right? And so now let's think about this. Okay, let's go to winning. Eli Manning is going to be a Hall of Famer. Why is Eli Manning going to be a Hall of Famer? Because he had 2 epic runs to the Super Bowl, and in those Super Bowls, he played great, and he beat the GOAT not only of that time, but the GOAT of the era, right? But he's only been to 4 Pro Bowls. He never got an MVP vote. He was never an All-Pro. Jalen Hurts has done all of those things. Right now let's look at Jalen Hurts in this time. In the Super Bowl, how do we measure every quarterback in the AFC? What is your proximity to Patrick Mahomes? You know the 3 quarterbacks that's beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs? I know who they are. They're Joe Burrow, they're Tom Brady, and they're Jalen Hurts. And not only did Jalen Hurts beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs or in the Super Bowl, he outplayed him in the Super Bowl. And so now here is what I think. If you don't want to count Jalen Hurts in your top 10, I have one question. Who's in the top 10? And how do you get there? And the last thing is this, right? Cam Newton is using excuses to not put Jalen Hurts in the top 10. Excuses are tools of incompetence that build monuments of nothingness, and those who major in their usage are non-achievers. The ring that Jalen Hurts is walking around with says top 10 to me. Tell Cam to show you his.
Yeah, I got a real problem with that, because they're having an argument about top 10 quarterbacks and whether Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback. And Ryan Clark's response is, well, Jalen Hurts is better than Cam Newton. Well, Cam Newton's out of the league, for one. And then it gets personal at the end, tools of incompetence, excuses, blah, blah, blah. I did not like Ryan Clark's response at all. JB, your thoughts?
Yeah, he said a lot of nothing. Word salad. Sounded good, sounds smart, educated, and all that, but he didn't say anything. Cam Newton and Jalen Hurts, to compare those two, is comical. It's not even in this. They're not even in the same world. Cam Newton's, he came out, I'm sure you have the video. He cooked all of them because he said what he said. Dan Orlovsky, Ryan Clark, none of them could speak to Cam on that level because Cam's done more than all of them. And Ryan Clark continued to say Jalen Hurts beat Mahomes. No, he did not. He did not beat Mahomes. And it's just like Mahomes winning those Super Bowls that I've been so criticized being on your show about when I said, well, Mahomes threw for 188 yards and won a Super Bowl. He threw for 190 yards and won a Super Bowl. What's the difference? Jalen Hurts, they won because in spite of, not because of. And what's the difference, Jason, from the year prior when Jalen Hurts had 300 combined yards and all that, and they lost? Why is this different now? That's why I do agree with you. It is personal. It's nothing about facts.
Steve, Ryan Clark's response I found retarded.
Oh, I agree. And it's great for us, Jason. We're off the hook now, Whitlock. We're no longer his guys. So if all four of us, Orlovsky, Clark, you and I were in a room with Cam, he'd go after those two guys and me and you could just run away and we're good. We're good now. We're no longer his guys. But this is the thing that was illogical about Clark's response. Cam Newton in his original thought about Hurts never said compared to me. He goes, I did this, I did that, and Jalen Hurts can't. So if Ryan Clark's going to make a defense of Jalen Hurts, what does Cam Newton have to do with it? Because all you're doing is you're talking about the top 10 current quarterbacks. I thought it was a little bit of a low blow and quite frankly unnecessary.
All right, and then I want to go even bigger picture here, and I know this is something JB's going to agree with, and that's why we asked you to come on, JB, and thank you for doing so. The real conversation should be, hey, look, the top 10 quarterbacks, the reason why there's even a debate is because they're kind of mediocre compared to what we used to have. And the only argument right now in the NFL is who's number 5. Anything else, 6 to 10, is up for debate. It's as you look at, this is the top 10 I put together, but there's 4 guys in one group, and then there's a debate about who's number 5, and I put Jaden Daniels there. Some people might put Justin Herbert. Some people may put Jalen Hurts. Some people, Stafford, who knows? Dak probably wouldn't be in the discussion, but I want you to look in 2014, just a decade ago. I want you to look at this top 10 list of quarterbacks. It's can we get the 2014 group up? It's an amazing group of quarterbacks. Do we not have the 2014? It's Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, there we go. Aaron Rodgers. I think he won MVP that year. It's Peyton Manning in Denver. It's Tom Brady. It's Big Ben Roethlisberger. It's Andrew Luck. I think he had 40 TDs that season. It's Phillip Rivers. It's Matt Ryan. It's Tony Romo. It's Eli Manning. Number 10 guy on the list won 2 Super Bowls. Look at the depth of the quarterback position just 10, 11 years ago as to right now. That, to me, is the real conversation we should be having is what happened to quarterbacks? We've made it easier to play quarterback, and we're getting worse quarterback play. JB, am I right or wrong here?
Matt Ryan's on there. You had him at 8. He's the MVP. I mean, I've been saying this for years. You sound like me for some reason. But mediocrity, Jason, is our new excellence. That's about as best as I could say that. Mediocrity is our new excellence, and the common fan that throws betting into this, and the DFS, DraftKings, FanDuel guys who see their guy that they selected that day to win him some money, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, whoever, they get him 45 draft points that day. They automatically say, he's the GOAT. Because he threw 16 bubble screens to Tyreek Hill, who went 85 yards, and he had 350 yards passing, and now he has 42 draft points, and everybody's like, oh, my God, he's the best thing since sliced bread. These guys have no clue what greatness is. Mediocrity is the new excellence, and that's why this top 10 is a joke, and your top 5 is blasphemous. It's blasphemous. Matthew Stafford is a guaranteed top 5 quarterback. If not, to me, he's in my top 3 right now. He's still one of the last guys left that can do it all. He threw for 330 yards in Philadelphia in the snow, Jason. They should have beat the Eagles, and Rams should be Super Bowl champs right now. But that's what the fact is. Matthew Stafford's the best ball spinner in the NFL right now. He is. It's not even close. And I think that would be in the 5. That would be my 5 right there. Add Matthew Stafford.
37, 38 years old, JB.
I get it, but I'm just saying the facts are the facts. The truth is the truth no matter who says it, Jason.
Steve, what do you think of my larger conversation here about, like, the real issue is, we got a bunch of mediocre quarterbacks after the top 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, and by the way, I think Jason Brown has Patrick Mahomes about 23rd on his list last I checked. But yeah, look, I'm with you on that. And I think the word we're looking for is dilution of mediocrity. It's funny with boxing. There used to be a time when I look at a pound-for-pound list. We had guys like Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones, De La Hoya, Mayweather, Pacquiao, Barrera. And I'm like, wow, those are elite. I look at today's game. I don't even do a top 10 pound-for-pound list. I really don't. I say there's Inoue, Usyk, Crawford, probably Bivol, and Bam Rodriguez. And I say that's it. We don't need a 7 through 10. I really think that those half dozen boxers have separated themselves from the pack, and those are the only guys that are truly elite. But the days of De La Hoya and Mayweather, those days are long gone. And I tell you a quarterback that I think is underrated, guys. And I know JB's going to throw up. I like Baker Mayfield more than most people. Look at Baker's numbers. He's actually leading teams to playoffs, had a playoff victory in Cleveland and Tampa Bay. Look at the numbers. And I'm thinking to myself, but in any other era, guys, would Baker Mayfield be considered elite? I'm not sure, but for today's day and age, I think he's a top 10 quarterback.
Better stats than Mahomes last 2 years overall.
Ooh, there we go. There we go.
I'm just saying, hey, Jason, I just had Dick Vermeil on my show this morning, and he brought up a great point too. Is anybody comparing Mahomes to Kurt Warner? Because he thinks it should be. Like, I'm just saying, that's a very great one. He went to a couple Super Bowls, won one. He should have won 2. He went to 3. A guy that was basically undrafted, went to Arena League. Look what he did. And that's a very fair comparison. If you thought about it, put Kurt Warner with Andy Reid. Is it similar to Mike Martz and Dick Vermeil on those teams? You can argue it because very similar release, not the arm strength of Mahomes, not the athleticism of Mahomes, but getting it done. Kurt Warner is in that conversation too.
Hold for 1 second. Hold for 1 second. And I love Dick Vermeil, but there was a guy in the backfield named Marshall Faulk that was the MVP of the league, one of the greatest running backs of all time, one of the most versatile running backs. You want to talk about just dump the ball off to a running back and let him go. I think they had 2 wide receivers that were borderline Hall of Famers. I think they had Orlando Pace, an offensive lineman. Is Orlando in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
And so, Patrick Mahomes had Tyreek Hill for a cup of coffee. Patrick Mahomes has Travis Kelce. Got it. Patrick Mahomes ain't never had nothing nowhere near Marshall Faulk. I mean, they had a complete offense around Kurt. And I'm not trying to denigrate Kurt Warner. I actually kind of like the analogy, although Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls and Kurt Warner's won 1. But in order for that analogy to ring true, over the next 10 years, Patrick Mahomes will have to play the way he has the last year or 2. And I don't anticipate that, but maybe it could happen if Andy Reid retires. But I don't think Patrick Mahomes is Kurt Warner.
And what he was saying was, though, like you got to compare the eras at some point if you're going to talk about greatness, because to your point of this top 10 versus the top 10 of yesteryear, you got to compare the eras because Mahomes can't get touched, can't lay on him. He takes advantage of the rules. You can see him take extra steps when linebackers are taking up and knowing you can't hit them, so they stop, and Mahomes takes 3 extra steps. And that's what Dick Vermeil was bringing up. He was like, you got to put him in the era of Kurt Warner taking chin shot after chin shot. And he said that matters. He goes, it absolutely matters. I've had Warren Moon on and Jeff Garcia and a couple guys the last few days, Dante Culpepper this morning, all agree with me. They said you have to compare the eras because I could sit here and throw for 6,000 yards right now. Dante said today, He was like, with Randy Moss, Chris Carter, I would throw for 6,000 yards now because it's ultimately 7-on-7 now. And that's what it is. And we're grading top 10 guys throwing 7-on-7 Skelly in the NFL. We've never seen that ever in the era. I just had Dan Fouts on last week. Same thing. So the greats agree. Like this, you have to compare the eras. And the top 10 list is mediocrity is the new excellence. It's a joke. The NFL quarterback's a joke. It's the worst I've ever seen it. And it continues to get worse. So
Whitlock, hey Whit, I think what strengthens the Kurt Warner argument is not just his run as a St. Louis Ram, but look, he revitalized the Arizona Cardinals. And I get it, he had Larry Fitzgerald, but they had no running game. I'd say a somewhat average offensive line. He was within, 50 seconds of leading the Cardinals to a Super Bowl against a great Steeler defense. I think right there, that sealed his Hall of Fame fate. I know some people think that he didn't deserve to be in there. I actually think he did. But Kurt Warner also did a lot with a lot less in Arizona.
Let me ask you this, Jason, real quick. Tom Brady had a run like we've never seen in the AFC East for 18 seasons, the worst conference in the NFL. He went through it. Patrick Mahomes to date has been in the worst conference in the NFL. So let's be honest.
Conference or division?
Division. So,
gotcha.
sorry. Division. So he didn't have to deal with the Kurt Warner Rams, Seahawks, Niners, and a good Cardinal team at that time. He's had the Broncos, who have been absolutely a mockery. The Raiders are a figment of themselves. The Chargers, until now, I'm talking about prior to now, with the 4 best coaches in football, in my opinion, are now in the AFC West with Pete Carroll's addition. He's had a pretty easy breeze now, just like Tom Brady. If people are going to use the Tom Brady argument as a breeze through the AFC because the Eastern Division was horrible, then you have to use it for Patrick Mahomes in the AFC West as well.
Decent point. Gentlemen, I'm going to put a pin in this conversation where, training camp's just reporting, and we got a little news that I want to get you all's reaction to because I think you'll have a reaction. I know Steve will. I think it may play for you as well, JB. Hulk Hogan has passed away at the age of 71.
No.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan has passed away at the age of 71. Obviously we'll remember his great wrestling career and what he did for the WWE, the WWF, and certainly his appearance at the RNC. Steve, just some initial thoughts, if you have any, on Hulk Hogan.
As someone who from about 1983 or 84 all the way up to about 88, 89 was a pretty avid fan of the WWF, as it was called back then. I thought he was the face of professional wrestling to a lot of people, and as it became a multi-billion-dollar industry led by the brain and the vision of Vince McMahon, he was the signature wrestler. And when the first thing I think of, he was not my favorite wrestler, that'd be Roddy Piper, but when I think of who really elevated professional wrestling into this sports and entertainment behemoth, it would be that man right there, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it's crazy. They say they go in threes, Jason. I was wondering. It's crazy. Ozzy Osbourne, Malcolm Jamal Warner, and now Hulk Hogan. It seems like those were the big three that went away. Obviously, growing up, watching him body slam Andre the Giant, a massive human being, maybe was his greatest feat in the ring. And then everything that he did out of the ring, obviously, has made him who he is. But with the show, with his daughters and everything else. So recently been on Pat McAfee's show and kind of resurfaced his name back in mainstream media topics. But that's crazy. It really goes they go in threes, man. Rest in peace.
That's an amazing analogy you just made there, JB, in terms of, obviously Malcolm Jamal Warner, his association with the Cosby Show, major cultural force in the 1980s. Same thing for Hulk Hogan, and certainly the same thing for Ozzy Osbourne. Man, these are three guys that had, and I don't know if you could say one more than the other. I think some people initial thought will be, well, Ozzy Osbourne had a little less of an impact, but I was talking with Luke, one of our producers who's really into metal music and all that. And it's like, no, Ozzy Osbourne's influence on the music industry and metal music and just the whole rock and all that is incredible. Wow, this has been a quite incredible 2 or 3 day stretch of people passing on of great significance. And I followed WrestleMania and I followed Hulk Hogan's wrestling career, but Steve and I just recent hadn't been in the last year when they came out with the documentary on Vince McMahon.
Yes.
And one of the number one thoughts watching that was like, man, they should just do a documentary on Hulk Hogan because he was kind of the whole key to the whole who was it? Was it Raw? Or, no, what was the WCW that they were competing against?
Yeah. They were competing
WWF.
with WCW, but there was also the NWA, and I remember TBS with Ted Turner had their own thing. Right.
What, NWO?
And guys, I think that was after the NWA.
That was after WWF.
That was after. So Hulk Hogan was so big, and the first time I ever saw him, because he did not wrestle in the WWF when I saw it first, he was Thunder Lips in Rocky III.
Yeah.
And that's where everyone said, wait, this guy has star quality, has a certain charisma, let's use him. But he was so big, and I think this was in 84, 85, and it was unheard of. A professional wrestler made the cover of Sports Illustrated when that was the most important cover in all of sports. And that's when you realize this is bigger than just pro wrestling. And WrestleMania 1, which took place of March of 1985, was the biggest story in sports. I think they actually... Mr. T and Hulk Hogan were in a tag team match with Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper, and they hosted Saturday Night Live the night before. And JB, to your point, when he slammed Andre the Giant, that was in WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome in Detroit, spring of 1987. So yeah, I was a bit of a wrestling nerd, I'll admit it.
Who also passed away like last week? Didn't somebody? What's his name? Fall. And passed away as well. God dang it. What's his name? I'm trying to look. Richard, what's his name? With the curly hair. We grew up watching. Did all the videos, back the workout videos back in our day when we were Richard
Simmons?
Richard Simmons?
Simmons, yeah. Richard Simmons too. I didn't even know he passed away or 2 weeks ago. When was it? The 13th, wasn't it?
Wow.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think he fell. He fell, and the next day, I think he passed away in his brother's arms or something. That's what I was reading.
I missed that one. I missed that one. Hey,
a lot of people,
guys. The Hulk Hogan deal. I'm gonna put a pin in it. Curveball. I got one last topic for you guys before I let you go. If you got time, JB, I know you got some other things to do, but I want John Harbaugh got asked yesterday about he and Jim visiting the White House, and wow, what a culture shift. No fear here from John Harbaugh. Let's watch this exchange.
Past Donald Trump has said, denigrating things about Baltimore, including no being people who want to live there. As a prominent representative of Baltimore.
Well, how you frame that question? I would frame the question like, you got a chance to go visit with the president, man. What was that experience like? It was amazing. It was awesome. And I promise you, I root for our president. I want our president to be successful, just like I want my quarterback to be successful. And I want my team to be successful, and it was an amazing experience. It's not often you get invited and you get a chance to do something like that as a family. We were there. My daughter was there. Jim's daughters were there. My mom and dad were there. My mom and President Trump. Just seeing how he treated her was really meaningful. And that's the fourth president. Now Jim met 7. Jim has met 7 presidents, so he's got the lead on me. I think he pointed it out. Did you guys notice that? Right, he's got 7, I got 4. So had a chance to meet President Obama twice. Incredible experience. Had a chance to meet President Biden when he was vice president in Iraq and spent a lot of time with him in Iraq, which was amazing. And then, 24, 25 years old, Jim got invited also to the White House to meet President Reagan because he was a Heisman Trophy candidate. And we got to go as a family, so I met President Reagan, have a picture in my office of that. So those are moments that I definitely cherish, and it means a lot.
Wow. Has there been a memo put out in the sports world that you no longer have to be afraid of being connected to Donald Trump? Hats off to Jim and John Harbaugh. Hats off to John Harbaugh for that response. Steve, you fire first here. You surprised by this?
Not really. And can I paraphrase Terrell Owens? It's my coach. It's my coach. But my general message, we don't hate the mainstream media enough. My God. We really don't. Just when you think maybe they're not bad people, you know what? They kind of are. They're dishonest. And I'm not saying an individual cannot have their own political sets of beliefs and cultural norms. I get it. But to shoehorn it into a question and to put anyone into a corner in a gotcha moment, I think is absolutely despicable. And all I could say is this. That guy's lucky he didn't ask Coach JB that question. That would have got heated.
Great American Jim Harbaugh and John Harbaugh aren't they? That was a great answer to me because I think the media, especially the woke mob and the left, they are trying to separate Americans and divide us unlike anything I've ever seen. And I'm appalled by these questions every single day by this woke media because I'm just telling you, he answered it perfectly and professionally as possible by saying, basically without saying it, like, why are you trying to divide us? And there's never been a issue before, whether it was a right or a left wing president sitting in the Oval Office. And why is it now that everything, there's rumors that we're going to sit out work to just implode the economy for Donald Trump to fail? Like, when did America think like this? And it's becoming more prevalent every single day with this woke media that continues to shove this stuff down our throat, whether it's a boy playing a girl in sports or some, another LGBTQ day or whatever. It just is starting to become so exhausting. I am fatigued.
Well, I think the wind is at our back, guys. I think the culture is shifting our way, and this is just another example of it. I took a lot of heat in 2019, 2020 for going to the White House and interviewing Donald Trump and actually enjoying my interaction with Donald Trump. That's when things were really hot. And so, now John Harbaugh coaching Lamar Jackson, working in the city of Baltimore, which is seen as a black city. He's got no fear. He can come out and say these things. There's not going to be backlash in his locker room. The players have grown up. I hope they figured out that, from Michael Brown to George Floyd, quit letting the media yank your chain and stand up as men and remember what sports are all about. Put your differences aside. One goal. Who cares who you voted for? You guys. Future Jason Barrett.
I do think she'll resurface. I think if you look at what she's done in the last 2-3 months, she's been building her own brand, focused on the that Too Personal podcast where she was opening. Yeah, there you go. Opening up a lot more. She's been getting a little more political. One thing I know, just being a former radio boss, a lot of times when you're looking at hiring somebody, you bring them into the building and let's see what they sound like for an hour. She just went on with Charlemagne the God about a month ago. And when I saw that, okay, she's in LA, he's in New York, that's iHeart Premiere. It's a big platform. He's political, he gets personal, so does she. They don't have somebody with some sports opinions on there. Interesting. Keep an eye on that. I don't know if it'll happen. It might have been a one-off to promote her podcast. But a lot of times these kind of things happen and you go, okay, maybe there's a good connection there and it leads to a follow-up conversation.
As the WNBA turns, starring Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, and other angry feminists. Brought to you by George Soros, Adam Silver, Kathy Engelbert, and the Global Elite.
All right, welcome back. Time for a little As the WNBA Turns. You guys know I'm obsessed with the WNBA. I'm certainly obsessed with Caitlin Clark. I think this young woman's name is Chelsea Mitchell. She is the sister of Kelsey Mitchell, the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark's teammates. She's the shooting guard. She's an all-star player. She's very good. I think Kelsey Mitchell might be the third-time all-time leading scorer in college basketball. But someone, and I think we have this and we can put it on screen, someone tweeted out or posted on Facebook a critique of the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark. Let me read what was posted. Clark's delusional fans can stay mad and call me all of the names in the book, but we all saw, including y'all, who carries my Fever team, and we all know who the offense should be ran through. Whether you like it or not, these two players, and they're talking about Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, can win some games without Caitlin Clark, but Clark can't win a single game without them. So hashtag argue with your mama. And Kelsey Mitchell's sister, Chelsea, said, I gotta agree. And people are using this and going off saying, well, Kelsey Mitchell must feel this way, or there must be a problem between Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark. And I have a tiny bit of experience with family members saying things, thinking things that aren't consistent with my own thoughts. And so likely what has happened here is that Kelsey Mitchell, like anybody who smartly watches the Indiana Fever, anybody that's smart, and this includes Stephanie White, the head coach, and this what Kelsey Mitchell may be frustrated by is that there's a dishonest conversation about the Indiana Fever team and Caitlin Clark. I love Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, too often, 5 times a game, comes down and takes a shot without a thought in her mind about the other 4 players on the team. And a lot of times, these are bad shots early in the shot clock. And Caitlin Clark, as talented as she is, as much excitement as she brings, and she's a force for good, and she is a playmaker and ball handler and feeds her teammates. But Caitlin Clark, for anybody that intelligently watches the Indiana Fever, she can get lost in Caitlin Clark world. She can get lost in thinking, hey, this is the same as Iowa. This is the same as my high school team. This is the same as my junior high team. This is the same as my grade school team. I got to take shots and I got to control the ball and I got to make every play because the rest of my teammates are a lot worse than me. And so Kelsey Mitchell is watching Caitlin Clark in real time, try to figure out how to play with players like herself who can get a bucket, with players like Aaliyah Boston who can get a bucket. And so that's part of Caitlin Clark's struggle, and no one in the media talks about it because either you make ridiculous racial claims about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, or you just go on TV or go on your podcast and you celebrate Caitlin Clark as if she can do no wrong. Caitlin Clark takes bad shots that frustrate her teammates. That's a part of being on a basketball team. That's a part of team sports. There were things I did at Ball State that frustrated my teammates, justifiably so. Didn't mean that they weren't on board with me. And so I'm going to give you one last football example of what can go on with a family. And maybe I've said this before, but I want to share it in all sincerity and like it really happened. In high school, you guys have heard me, I played alongside Jeff George, one of the most talented high school football players, one of the most talented football players of all time. No one threw the ball better than Jeff George. There may have been people that threw it as well, but no one threw the ball better than Jeff George. And I'm not sure if anybody had a better high school quarterback career than Jeff George. First team All-American, clear-cut #1 recruit in the country, eventually the #1 pick in the NFL draft. And my dad thought that I was the real MVP of the Warren Central football team, and he would complain to me about, man, why they always write about Jeff George? Well, why are they always, they got no running game without you, Jason. No running game, because I was, an offensive tackle, and we did. I was a really good high school football player, but I was no Jeff George. I was not. And I mean, I was really good. There's guys that played against me that played, major college football. Some went on to the pros that they'll take. In high school, man, Whitlock was a beast, but I wasn't Jeff George. And I was never the MVP of the team. Yes, I was my father. Oh, you were the captain. And literally, they once ran a stat about our running game my senior year. And let's say we ran the ball 300 times. There was a stat like, I think 294 of them were just run this blast play off of my butt. It was just like, let's just run behind Whitlock. And we had a very good running game. Everybody knew it was coming. I was unstoppable, and we had good running backs and Bobby Espic and Ron Clark. I think Ron Clark may have got a scholarship to Illinois. But anyway, I used to have to argue with my dad in high school, like, Daddy, man, I love you to death, but I'm not Jeff George. He plays quarterback. He's a generational talent. We've been saying since he was a little kid, he was going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft. Cut it out. And so Kelsey Mitchell may be having that conversation with her sister. Now, she also could be having a conversation with her sister, like, sometimes, she takes dumb shots. And just like I may have had a conversation, that one, I gave up one sack in my high school career, 3-year start. I gave it one sack. And I probably blamed it on Jeff for holding the ball too long. And so maybe I complained, Jeff held the ball too long, I gave up a sack. But it's actually not true. I don't want to. Chris Keever watches this show. Chris Keever went on to play. He played at John Marshall High School. I gave up the sack to Chris Keever. It's right before halftime. I can remember it right now in my head. I got beat on that play. Chris Keever went on to play at Purdue, may have had a cup of coffee in the NFL. I can't remember. He's now the head coach at the University of Indianapolis. Great guy. Good luck to the Greyhounds, I think, is the University of Indianapolis. But anyway, that's my As the WNBA turns. Let's don't make too much of Caitlin Clark's sister, not Caitlin Clark's sister, Kelsey Mitchell's sister having a bit of a problem with Caitlin Clark. That may be her problem. Doesn't mean it's Kelsey Mitchell's problem. All right. That's it, and that's all for us today on this show. We will be on the Harmony channel. I know we promised you this yesterday, and then we ran into audio issues, and we couldn't get on the air yesterday for Harmony. We will be there today, and we're going to talk about Ben Crump and this latest police brutality case. I believe the guy's name is Anthony McNeil Jr. or something like that. This latest police brutality case that Ben Crump is fronting. We'll talk about Jon Stewart and his Go F Yourself Black Choir deal. And we'll talk about Trump being in the Epstein files. We'll do that on the Harmony channel in, I would say, 15 minutes. We'll be there at 11:45 Central Time. In 15 minutes, check me out at Jason Whitlock Harmony. Thank you guys for watching today. We'll play tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all those moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want